Welcome to Old Stuff Show. Today we have a very narrow type topic, but an interesting one. And I start off with this expression. Today's video is going to be the bee's knees. And some of you may have heard that, maybe not, but it's a phrase from the 1920s that means something that didn't exist. And it started in the 17th century, actually. So there are many words and phrases and also values that we can look at in vintage ephemera and paper ephemera particularly, and that's what we're going to look at today to show you how both words and phrases have changed and how values have changed at the same time. So we can start off with this postcard, for example, which says we're having a ripping time. And so that is an early 1907 postcard, and the riptide, of course, is something that was common at that time, but it simply refers to meaning it's a delightful time. It was just an expression, a British expression that referred to something as being delightful, having a delightful time. And then I came upon this booklet. It's Mother Seigel's Home Companion. It has a cover problem, but the first story inside is kind of interesting because it's talking about a word called the sticker. Canada owes its self to the sticker. And I wasn't quite sure what they were talking about, so I checked it out. And sticker is actually a word way back that meant someone who has perseverance and is industrious. And the article talks about the importance of saving that word because it was a word that applied to the settlers of both Canada and the U.S. who were stickers. And they had perseverance and they were industrious and they worked hard at it. And so this article in the pamphlet is emphasizing the importance of that word, sticker. And then if we switch over to greeting cards, they really give us a lot of clues about names and words and what have you. So this is a Happy Easter Grandson card. Inside it says, for lots of fun for one swell boy. Well, the word swell is not commonly used today, maybe by some older people, but referred to having an excellent time. There's lots of old slang words that refer to the same kind of thing, like excellent, and we'll have a couple more of those in a minute here. Or this one here, a Happy Easter card, and inside it says, sure hope your day is dandy. Well, again, dandy, like swell, is another word meaning excellent or delightful, good, and a very common word, more so in the past than we have today. We have an idiom here used in this card, which is a congratulations card. And inside it says, bully for you. Well, I remember kind of that expression when I was younger, and bully for you is just a response that kind of says, oh, good for you, congratulations. In today's society, I don't think the word bully would have a positive connotation, so it wouldn't be a word or a phrase that people would want to use. So, bully for you. Here's another one. It's a Father's Day card, and for Daddy, and the last line mentions about having something that he could crow about. Again, not a common expression, but some of you would maybe even use it, but more so in the past, and it sort of refers to something to brag about. When I was interviewing my older people in my two books, Londoners Remember Part 1 and Part 2, I found it so fascinating that they would use certain words and expressions that I isolated them after I was looking back at what they had told me. And so two different sections in the two books have expressions that are kind of interesting. One, and there's so many I can't go through all of them, but I'll pick out some of the highlights here. One person said here, I was scared skinny. remember my mother saying that way back. Or she was pretty as a picture. We had oodles of fun. Oodles, yes. And I think, too, the substitution, especially in the older days, of words that were not, they were kind of swear words that they substituted. So what the Sam Hale was a very common one that I sort of recall at that time. We had to work like fury till they were clean as a whistle. And then in the other book, I noticed a couple here. She's got her buttons yet. That means she's still alert. And I would go pronto. I would go fast. And a more recent one, someone just told me a while back about go like 60. Well, that meant 60 miles an hour for a car was going pretty fast. So if someone was sent to the store, you go like 60. That was kind of a common expression in that time too. He was plumb loco, another word for he was kind of cuckoo crazy. They were cut up, they acted funny. And thrilled to pieces, very excited. I got a licking, that means I got a spanking. Licking that's an old word. I got the dickens, got into trouble. So it's kind of interesting, and when you think about new words and words that were and are not today, it raised a question in my mind. How many new words show up in the Webster Dictionary every year? So I looked that up, and last year there were 1,100 words added to the Webster Dictionary. Now there were some that were removed, of course, but not quite as many as the 1,100. So the newest words that I looked up and found that they were just put in last year was deep fake, fan art, truthiness, self-isolate. We get into the effects of a pandemic, and the term self-isolate and social distance show up in the dictionary now, and that's to be expected, of course. So words are quite interesting in that way. They come and they go, and if you go way back into history, of course, there are words that we don't really have never heard of. It's also the connection of the way you speak your words, and I know that there's different dialects, same word, but it sounds so different, and that's an interesting thing in itself. And I know that there was a friend of mine years ago. He went on a fishing trip out to Newfoundland, and there they have a very strong accent. And he rented a boat and a guide, and the guide was supposed to help him, and which he was trying to do. And his friend said to me, I know he was speaking English, but I didn't understand a word he said. So there was the way the words were said and different expressions at the same time. So if we move away from ephemera showing changes in words and phrases to changes in social values, we can see, I just have a few examples of greeting cards that show that particular thing as well. So some of them are kind of simple, like this is a birthday card to grandson, but the grandson has the cowboy hat on. This would be the 1950s when Roy Rogers and Gene Autry were important. And you see in his pocket on the side there, he's carrying a gun. And I don't think that card would be maybe sold in today's card shops, but it represents the times. It represents the culture, the trends of the time. And for young boys, having a cowboy hat and having a cap gun, that was a pretty big deal at the time, but not so much today. Also here is one to a man's wife on their anniversary. This one's kind of subtle, but it does raise an interesting cultural change today. It says, I'm glad I'm the one who made you change your name. Happy anniversary. I'm glad I'm the one that made you change your name. Well, when you got married, females took on the husband's name, but today, in today's society, it's very common that the wife maintains her maiden name when she's married, and that's not an uncommon thing. And you can even take it one step further. The government, our government here in local area, our province, passed a law a number of years ago now there which said that children could take the surname of either their mother or their father legally. And maybe not a lot of people realize that. I checked out also cards that were politically incorrect online, and wow, there's a lot. If you Googled politically incorrect greeting cards, you would see some pretty strong words being said that totally are not acceptable today. This is a kind of a close example. This is a Valentine. With all the controversy with our Native people in our both countries, and the way this is worded is totally politically incorrect. So it says, you have heap fine time today because you nice in every way. So, you know, cultural change, cultural values that change and are still changing show up very definitely in a simple greeting card like that. So values are different for sure. Sheet music, I mentioned in my sheet music part 1 and 2, there was one piece of sheet music that was talking about a young man and a young lady meeting, and some of the words in the song said, one of them was an expression, we should meet and then we can spoon. Young people might not know what spooning is today, but the meaning of spooning anyways, which means necking or making out, and it's just an old expression from the early 1900s. And sheet music, you could go through all kinds of sheet music, like this one, Hot Diggity. Don't hear people say that today, but I think early in my youth I heard people say, oh, Hot Diggity, that, you know, that's great. Oh yes, awesome, terrific is another. And then things that young people did, like young girls, for example, what was common there, they played with certainly dolls, but they also played with paper dolls. And paper dolls have been very, very collectible. And so songs would come out about things like that would be highly collectible, and there's a song called Paper Doll. You can expand this search into all kinds of other kinds of ephemera or nostalgia. And, you know, it's very obvious that we are a society that is culturally evolving in so many different ways, and one of the ways is language and expression and values. And collectibles show that. And this is just a very small sample of proving that point. So when you're out there looking, look around for this type of thing. You never know what you're going to find. Many of these things that you've seen will be on my eBay site, and we made a little change on directing you to that site. It's a little more simple, and you'll see that at the end of this video. So check it out and see what we've got there to show you. Also, don't forget to subscribe, and that would be very helpful for us as well. So thanks for watching, and we hope to see you the next time. Bye for now.